Episode 4, Vaccines. How do we stop viruses, or at least make it less probable to get one? We will answer that in today's episode. To help answer this question, we have Dr. Ted Kreider, who is an infectious disease doctor and researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. Hello, Dr. Kreider. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as you said, I'm a doctor and a researcher. I'm at Penn right now, and I wear many hats. So I take care of people who have infections, but I also study those infections to see if we can find better ways of treating those infections. I'm local. I'm from around here. I grew up here and never left. But I'm excited to talk about vaccines.
So I hear you're working at a lab with Drew Weissman, who made a vital discovery that allowed for the development of the COVID vaccine.
Yep, I am.
Can you start off by telling us how vaccines work in the first place?
Perfect. Yeah. Whenever we see an infection, whether it's a cold or any type of infection, we have an immune response. So our immune system is our defenses against those types of infections. And they're very good at recognizing infections after they've seen them. So if you want to prevent future times that you get infected, you have to see the infection first. And that's what vaccines do. They kind of tell the immune system, what does the infection look like that you've never seen before? And so when we give vaccines, essentially we're saying, here's the foreign invader. This is what you have to stop in the future. And that's what the immune system does really, really well. And thankfully, we have vaccines against a lot of diseases.
Okay, so basically in the vaccine, just part of the virus, so they can recognize in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So often it is just a part of the virus, and that way the immune system knows what it looks like.
So can you tell us some details about the discovery in the Weissman lab that helped lead to the development of the vaccine?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Dr. Weissman's lab has been studying mRNA for a really long time. And do you know what mRNA is?
Uh, yes, but you can explain a little bit.
Yeah, so mRNA is kind of like instructions for building little pieces of either us or viruses. So those instructions are whether it's us building ourselves or viruses making more of themselves are all placed within mRNA. And that's when you're building some Legos, you know the instructions that come with the Legos? That's what the mRNA is. It tells you what to do. So Dr. Weissman has been studying ways that mRNA can be used for vaccines for a long time. And the big discovery he made was that he could make the instructions that we give to the person when they get vaccinated stick around long enough so that they could read the instructions and make the little pieces of the virus. And that was really important because before then, the instructions didn't stick around long enough and you didn't get enough pieces of the virus for the immune system to make a response. So that was one of the big ones. And it enabled all of the vaccine development that you know about for COVID-19.
So can you tell us more about the evidence that COVID vaccines work and why people need to get boosted with extra shots?
Yeah, of course. So the way we know vaccines work is because we look at people who are vaccinated and people who aren't vaccinated, and we compare them. And so there have been really good comparisons between people who have gotten vaccinated and who haven't on the number of infections they get. So there's protection from getting the virus, but also how bad the infection is when you do get it, because often we can't protect it all the way. And that's actually the real big benefit of the vaccine here is that when people get sick, they usually can just stay home and they do just fine. And that's a really, really big win. The reason we need boosters is more complicated. So the virus is very crafty. The virus changes over time to try to avoid the immune system. And so, for instance, it'll like put a hat on itself so that its head is covered and you can no longer see its head. And when it does that, our immune system's not as good at recognizing it. So one of the ways that we deal with this is we say, okay, you've seen the virus without a hat, but now the virus has a hat. Let's show you the virus with a hat. And that's what a booster is saying the virus has changed. So here are the instructions for how to recognize the new virus. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So again, as you said before, the vaccine is made out of the virus with a piece of the virus. Is the booster also made with a piece of the virus, but just a new one?
Exactly. So it's just updated to be what is present right now, because what is present right now wasn't present a year ago.
Okay. So the Weissman Lab sounds like an exciting place to do science. What do you do in the lab right now?
Yeah, it's very exciting. So what I do now is I use mRNA, which is the same thing that goes into the vaccine, in order to make new treatments for different infections. So we've been asking the question, it's been so good at vaccines, can we use it to treat other infections? And so that's what I do.
So where do you want to go in the future with your science, and what makes you so excited working in this field?
That's a fantastic question. As Dr. Weissman likes to say, we're moving into an RNA world. I think that RNA is going to be something that we all use in various ways throughout our lives. And I'm most excited to see the different ways that RNA will be applied. I'm particularly interested in treating infections because that's the type of people that the patients that I see. And so I'm most excited to see how this technology changes the lives of people that I treat every day. And my hope is that we're going to start having some cures for infections that haven't had cures previously. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Thank you for coming to the COVID podcast, and good luck with your science.
Thanks for having me.